Welcome to the all-new Marvel Roundup, the Southgate Mini Group guide to the Marvel Comics of the week. As always, I am Phil&rsquo, joined by my friend...
Charlie&rsquo.
Alright, big huge week, so let's get into it. Well, actually my first book is the one I didn't get last week, Deadpool and Cable Split Second number 2. Some of this was confusing, but what opens up in the Cable and Deadpool are fighting, I guess they're called, that's the villain's name, is Split Second, so basically they try to grab onto him, but they keep like jumping back in time, and each time they jump back in time, like Deadpool accidentally kills somebody. Like when he swings at Split Second with his sword, first he decapitates a bike rider, and next time he's trying to protect a kid, but he goes, "Here, kid, here's a granola bar," but then the kid dies because he was allergic to the nuts in the granola bar.
But he keeps on going back in time, so he like undoes that, or these people just die?
Well, no, he keeps going back in time, so yeah, he's trying to undo all these deaths, and then the third time he goes back, he accidentally shoots a construction worker when he's distracted by a woman in yoga pants. Until eventually he realizes what he has to do, which is basically knock the bike rider, who's a delivery guy, off balance, that sends the pizza he was delivering flying, that hits Split Second in the head. And he basically, then he shoots Split Second, which I guess kind of destabilizes his time travel harness.
Thank you, Rube Goldberg.
No! But, and then all of a sudden, a guy, somebody in armor shows up, and him and Deadpool are fighting, and then they're like Deadpool and Cable are like sent into the future. How many years? I forget if they say how many years it is. I think it's at least a decade or two. It's a couple decades, but so Deadpool goes looking for help because Cable's like out of it, and he goes down into he goes to find his wife since she's immortal. And, you know, she's all mad because he's been missing. He's like, no, I was just, like, bumped into the future. Like...
Oh, wacky.
But,
it's like Philip Fry.
No. But I guess even in the future, there's, like, all these, like, temporal, like, hot spots. So, like, time's still wacky. And there's, like, this company who's, like, trying to, like, stabilize the timeline. So like Deadpool goes to their headquarters, and he encounters the guy with the armor who's talking all weird, and then they show why the guy in the armor is acting all weird, because it's Deadpool. Time travel, Charlie.
That's wacky. Well, you know, they stole this from Squirrel Girl last week, so
yeah, because even the Deadpool in the armor is like, well, you have to take a job to like stabilize the timeline, and you know, past Deadpool's like, why? And the Deadpool in the armor's like, because you already did. Because I already did. So Deadpool puts the armor on, and I guess goes back in time, and there's like a holographic head, and I guess the man in charge, and he's like, in order to save the universe, you must destroy the man called Cable.
Uh-oh.
All right, let's see if I can do this. The next issue blurb. Deadpool must face the cacophonous conundrum of continuity calamity. Like, wow.
Oh my.
But it was a little confusing at the end with all, you know, him fighting his past self, and they kept jumping back and forth in time. But it was a good issue. It was a thumbs up.
Very good.
All right, so we get to this week's books. For this week, I'll start with Nova number 4. I don't know if you saw the cover, but I guess it was an homage to Fantastic Four number 1.
Yes, I saw the cover. It was very cool, and one of those things that makes me want to buy it. It's like, oh, I want to buy that, but I can't buy that. I don't have money.
I know the feeling, but it was just a good story with him teaming up with Miles Morales and Miss Marvel.
Yay, the new Fantastic 3.
And they basically take out the Mole Man's creature, and the Mole Man's like, who sent you my son, my son, and all this. So then they see his son's forces coming, so Sam rushes to like take them down, but they kind of take him down.
Mm-hmm.
And so I guess the Mole Man's son is the mole monster, he says?
Okay, yeah, that's last time I saw him, I think he was called the Man Mole, but maybe he's now called the Mole Monster. But basically, he's like the Mole Man, but he actually like looks like a human mole hybrid.
Yeah.
Yeah, the last time we saw him was in Red She-Hulk. Actually, I think it was just called She-Hulk when the Red She-Hulk was the dominant character in it, and basically the idea was that the man mole or the mole monster was that that the mole man had sort of fell in love with a woman. Deviants are the offshoots of the Eternals, and they're all hideously mutated monsters, and they created this child called the man mole, but obviously that broke up because really the mole man kind of a narcissist, self-involved, that kind of guy, and those kind of relationships never work. And so now they sort of both claim themselves as the rulers of the underworld, and normally they give each other space, but I guess maybe the man mole is sort of feeling his rightful heir to the underworld kingdom now.
Yeah, well, Sam basically has a talk with him, and he's like, you got to stop this, and then the man mole's like, why? And he's like, cool. Sam's like, he's your dad, and he's like, so? And he's like, he's an old man, he's useless, fathers are meant to be replaced, and Sam's like, no, they're not. And mole, because, he's having father issues, and the mole monster's like, no, you talk like a boy. He's like, what? You wish your father was here to dry your tears, which sets Sam off, so he starts fighting them, and they basically fight for a while, and then the mole monster and his army takes off, and but then Miles and Miss Marvel come in, and Sam's like, come on, we gotta get after them, we're Avengers, and the other two are like, no, we better go talk to Captain America first, meaning Sam Wilson, and
that's like, the only Cap there is.
Yeah, and they're like, yeah, well, I'm trying to remember, they might have called him Cap at first, but then I'm looking here, they might have said, oh no, they said Cap. I thought they said they called him Sam once, but yeah, they're saying, yeah, let's go talk to Cap. And
no, well, that would be get confusing, given that Nova's name is also Sam, so it's probably easier just to call him Cap.
Yeah, probably, but yeah, they get back above ground, and Sam's like, what time is it? And Miles is like, no idea, none of us have watches, and Sam's like, oh, if it's dark, it's late, and so he has to take off back to home, because I guess he was supposed to babysit his sister, but he gets there and finds out his mom already left for work and left his sister with the neighbors. Which he goes up to his room, takes off the helmet, he's like about to pass out on the bed, but he sees his school books and his homework and stuff, and he just goes nuts. He throws his school books, and he's like, picks up the helmet, he's like, you're ruining my life, I hate you.
Oh.
Yeah, and then I guess it looks like next issue they're going to explain, what's up with his father. I guess whether it's his father or not, but it was a good issue with the kids. Thumbs up. I don't know if I even graded the last one, but that was a thumbs up too.
Yeah, that's interesting because they seem to be exploring something kind of similar in the next issue of Ms. Marvel, sort of how the overwhelmingness of being a superhero and a teenager really isn't that good, especially if you're part of the superhero team, and it sort of maybe even opens up this idea that, Pete really wanted to join the Fantastic Four back in the day, but that's not that easy to do because suddenly you're on the hook for everything that's going on, and and you have this life. You're a kid, you're a teenager, and being a child soldier isn't really a nice thing. It may be glamorous and great to have great power and great responsibility, but you suddenly sign on for the responsibility of being an Avenger, and it's too much. Anyway, that's a downer.
Yeah.
Okay, so
hold on, my third.
Oh yes, that's right. You got three.
Yeah. One more.
3 to
1 more. Yeah.
Right.
All right, I'll do my other cosmic book, Captain Marvel #2. It was a good issue. They're basically, her and Alpha Flight are exploring that alien ship that they discovered. It's partially biological, and they find a bunch of aliens, I guess, who were in stasis, but the stasis pods failed, so they died.
Aww.
And they're trying to figure out if that alien delegation on the space station is behind any of this. With Captain Marvel off the station, everyone's looking to Abigail Brand to like take charge and stuff. And they're getting attacked by defenses on the alien ship. Oh, and then like the science officer who was working with them, I guess, Brand saying she was in on it. So she wants them taken into custody. Or she wants her taken into custody, the science officer. And Captain Marvel's like, no, she's not in on this. And Brand's like, yeah, she is. And then some of the defenses on the alien ship actually scratched Captain Marvel, so I don't know if it's from her wounds, but she passes out at the end.
Oh.
Because they were saying on this alien ship there was like the Kree symbol that she wears on her chest, so they don't know what the link there is with them. But this series has been really good. This one, once again, it's a big thumbs up.
And I'm like, I kick myself every day. It's like, you know what? Captain Marvel right now for me is like Legends of Tomorrow, which I keep on wanting to watch, and I just can't get the chance to watch it. And it's like I hear all these great things about, the new Captain Marvel, it's great. And I'm like, I want to read it, but it's like everything else is coming out, and I can't get to it.
I know. I mean, if I had the money, I would read every Marvel book.
I know. I mean, really. Well, maybe not everyone, but
most of them.
I don't know which ones I'd cut right now. I mean, that's the thing. It's like I would probably. What happens is that, and this is what always happened to me back when I had more money, is I would get that big pile of books and I'd read the books, and then I'd get to that point where it's like, I've got 3 months of this book and I haven't read a one yet, because you just only have so much time to read these books, reading every Marvel book that comes out. So it's a great idea in theory, but who has the time for that,
That's true. Even if I did have the money, I don't know if I'd have the time.
Exactly. It's, I mean, and then you can even throw in like, and I should read those back issues too, shouldn't I? Gavalt, you never get the time. Okay, so let's see here. You know what? Let's stick with Cosmic and go with Howard the Cosmic Duck. Well, Howard the Duck, anyway. Trapped in a world he's grown accustomed to, number 4. So when last we left our Howard, well, actually, so this actually takes place 1 year ago, which is an interesting thing. We have a woman by the name of Roberta in an observatory. She's obviously a grad student, and her professor is telling her, you've got all these logs to fill out, you're not supposed to be playing on the telescope, and he says, we're supposed to find life in the universe. And she points up, Mr. Weiss, or Weeby, I want to call it Weiss because I'm putting in the German B. Says the Earth has been attacked by multiple aliens over the years, so I'm pretty sure we solved the mystery of life in the universe. And he says, of course, I know that. I'm talking about aliens who are nice, like Close Encounter aliens who give us little puzzles to unravel and whom we can learn from. And when she looking through her telescope and she sees Galactus on the moon with Squirrel Girl, back from Unbeatable Squirrel Girl, Volume 1, Number 4. Which, if we think about it, 8 months plus 4 months, there we go. 1 year ago. Cut to the future, we see the rebel of the ship. We see a little notebook with a drawing of Linda the duck, sort of floating in space. And the stranger is... because the stranger just destroyed, Howard not Howard, but Linda and Shaka and Tara, or at least he thinks he does because he blew up their ship. And Howard says, look, just trust me. I make a terrible prisoner. I'm always going on like, wah, wah, I make a terrible prisoner. Who needs that kind of aggravation? It says, you are now a portal with which the stranger will unlock untold universes to study. I imagine you will still hold such power after I remove your tongue. No! Oh, goodness. And then, of course, there is a loud statement, release the duck, for he is now the property of Galactus, Devourer of Worlds. And we see what looks like a brown girl Silver Surfer. And And Howard says, "Oh Lord, it just doesn't stop." And the stranger says, "I have met Galactus. I have dined on the finest free-range asteroids with Galactus. You are not Galactus." He says, "You speak now with Scout, Herald of Galactus, and I will build you to watch your tone with me." And then the stranger sort of zaps her, knocks her back, but then she uses power cosmic, frees Howard, and they make a run for it. Back to Galactus, who is, quite frankly, somewhat annoyed at this scout person trying to bug him while he's trying to eat a planet. Thank you very much. Says, "I have tolerated these interruptions too long." She says, but, says, "Hi, I'm sorry, but can you tell me what is actually happening here?" Says Howard. She says, "Sir, Galactus, I just want to prove myself to you. I have brought you a powerful object of my loyalty." Says, "My token is a living nexus of all realities. I figured if you had one of these, you could travel the universes filled with unoccupied planets. I would be the ultimate herald. I would have provided you with infinite sources to end your hunger." And Galactus says, "You are correct. This token intrigues me." And then Howard says, "I've had just about enough of this. Everyone in this flopping universe treats me like a thing to be handed around. Well, I'm done. You want to use me as some personal cosmic hero? You'll have to fight me, you big piece of blank." And then he says, "Just had to get that out there. Felt real good, cathartic, you know." Says, "Your life as my new herald will be a comfortable one, creature." "Wait, what? I'm supposed to be your new herald. It's why I brought him to you, to prove myself. He's a gift." "A gift? That is not yours to give." "Whoa, Silver Surfer! Are you here to interfere with my dealings yet again, Nornrad? And without your human pet? Dawn has declared you creepy, and she chose to spend some time on Allslot." Anyway, so long story short, the scout is actually Roberta, who we saw in the first scene. She went to go meet with Alicia Masters, because Alicia Masters, I guess, is lonely and will just let anybody come in and see her private collection. She finds the statue of the Thing made of the Silver Surfer. Essentially, it was a piece of the power cosmic that the Silver Surfer had given to Alicia. She made a Thing sculpture of it, and then Alicia Roberta hits Alicia over the head with this Spider-Man sculpture bust and steals the power cosmic. Meanwhile, Galactus is like, "Yeah, that's all great. I'm going to take the Nexus of all realities." And then who should show up but Guardians of the Galaxy? As you may recall, Linda and Shockett went to them for help. And I got to tell you, there's nothing in the world better than Thing dialogue and Howard the Duck dialogue side by side. Because as they go get into this whole thing, basically, the Thing is trying to get Howard. The Silver Surfer imbues Howard with a little bit of the power cosmic so he can run away. The Thing brings him into the Milano with the Guardians. They start to fly away. The Kree show up and accidentally shoot Galactus, which, as you can imagine, does not end well for them. And Howard in the Milano basically uses his power cosmic to make the Milano fly super fast. He's trying to figure out where Quill is, and Venom explains that Rocket is in charge of the group, to which Kitty says, "Yeah, for some reason." Plotline, they go for their flight, and then Howard gets captured by Tanelier Tivan. You probably know me as a jackhole who kidnaps people, a.k.a. the Collector. And, buddy, I've got a lot of frustration to take out on you, says Howard. Next, Howard versus the Collector. Not a good idea, Howard. Fantastic book, as always. You just don't do better than Howard the Duck. I'm just going to say that. I love this book. Howard the Duck, I will say it's better than Squirrel Girl, although I do love Squirrel Girl with all my heart, and I cannot wait for the crossover in 2 issues. So after Howard and Tivan deal with this nonsense, incidentally, Howard, Linda, and Shockett want to free all the other people who are being held by Tivan. That's going to be the next issue. So, but big thumbs up for Howard the Duck. Loved it as always.
Cool.
Cool.
All right. 3 more from me. Alright. Amazing Spider-Man number 7. Well, last issue we saw Cloak and Dagger, who are under the control of Mr. Negative, kidnap Peter. And now Mr. Negative thinks Peter's under his control. But what Mr. Negative doesn't know is during Dark Reign, he already corrupted Spider-Man. So, and as we all know, Mr. Negative's touch only works one time. So Peter isn't under his control, but Mr. Negative doesn't know that because Peter's faking. Yeah. So once they leave him, Peter shoots a micro spider tracer on the cloak so he can track them. And then once again, he's telling his people that they have to. He wants his people to stop what they're doing and analyze the sample of shade he got, which is the drug Mr. Negative's been using. And then Leanne, who we saw last issue, was the engineer on the Spider-Mobile. She's like, Peter, I need to talk to you. You know, it's personal. This is important. But he takes off because he's trying to track Cloak and Dagger. And then we see, who is this? Mr. Qinghao, who is, looks like a big philanthropist and, I don't know what else you'd call him, but he's helping plant trees and, you know, telling people to think about the future, but so then we see Peter trying to track down Cloak and Dagger. He calls the Hong Kong police, who are willing to help him, which surprises him. Then I guess he does all his CEO business while he's swinging around, because he calls Anna Marie in London, and she says she's swamped ever since he promoted her. Everything's been crazy.
Do we get any auto?
No, you only get like a panel or two of Anna Marie, so.
Yeah.
No! So then he calls the New York Parker Industries, and they're like, oh, Harry's not here. He's not answering any of his texts or emails. So he's like, where's Harry Osborn? But then they show in New York, he's out having dinner with his ex-wife, Liz, their son, Normie, and his other son, Stanley.
Wait, isn't Liz sleeping with his dad? Wasn't that she became a goblin thing herself?
That was his last girlfriend, who's the mother of Stanley. But yeah, no, not Liz.
This gets crazy.
Yeah, she was another blonde, but yeah. But
have weird family relationships. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, but they almost get run down by a car that's running from the police until the car is stopped by Regent, who we saw in the Amazing Spider-Man Renew Your Vows Secret Wars special.
Yeah, now he's a good guy.
Maybe. Who knows?
Yeah, well, it was all to defeat Doom last time,
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he's really wants to do good. We'll see.
So Peter tracks down Cloak and Dagger, Mr. Negative, to the drug lab Mr. Negative has going, but it's interesting because I guess Mr. Negative doesn't have control over when he transforms, because when he transforms back into Martin Lee, he's like a regular guy who's not like evil, so he's telling Cloak and Dagger, chain me up until I change back. So then Spider-Man's taking on Cloak and Dagger, but so Mr. Negative transforms back into Martin Lee, but Mr. Negative left himself a video message, because he's like, you're going to want to help me this time, because do you remember the crime boss who forced you into slavery and sold our countrymen into slavery? Well, now he's China's greatest humanitarian, the guy we saw in the beginning of the issue. So Martin Lee agrees that, for once agrees to help Mr. Negative take out this guy. Then Spider-Man is fighting Cloak and Dagger. And since they're possessed by Mr. Negative, their powers are all reversed, because Cloak's all white and Dagger's throwing all Dark Force daggers. But Spider-Man uses the drug to mess with her powers, so Cloak and Dagger disappear. But then in the end, we see why Leanne wanted to talk to Peter, because her mother's dying of cancer, and I guess Parker Industries was working on a cancer cure until Peter made them stop to work on Spider-Man stuff. So
I'm seeing a theme here of how superheroing really screws up your day-to-day life. Even if you're not a teenager anymore, it's like superheroing, it's running a big multinational corporation and trying to use those things for superheroing. I mean, Tony Stark made it work, but that was only because he was, only in the weapons manufacturer business and sold weapons to people. And eventually other people made better weapons. And now he's, not on Skid Row, but not doing as well as he once was. So,
Cash poor.
Yeah, cash poor.
So, so the issue ends with Leanne. She calls Scorpio and, she says, I need more of your experimental treatments for my mother. And he's like, there's only so many security codes you can give me. And she goes, wait, I have something better. It has to do with the spider. And he's like, yeah. He's like, well, what can you accomplish that hundreds of supervillains failed at? And she's like, I have something they don't have. It's top of the line. I should know. I built it myself, and it's the new Spider-Mobile.
Ooh.
Yes. So, we'll see how that plays out next issue. But, it was good. I give it a thumbs up.
Very cool.
And keeping with the motif of Spider-Man, I'll go to Spider-Man #1.
Yay!
Starring Miles Morales.
So upset I didn't get that.
Yeah, it opens up with this part of the city looks like it's been destroyed, and all the Avengers are knocked out, and Miles is face to face with Blackheart, son of Mephisto.
Oh, that guy again.
Yeah, but
where did we see him last? What was he in?
I can't remember.
I know we just saw him in a book it was a book you read. I don't think I read it, but
yeah,
no, wasn't he in the Deadpool Spider-Man story, right?
No, it was Dormammu was in that.
Oh well,
I don't know.
Yeah, good old Blackheart. Nice to see him getting work.
I know his first appearance was in Daredevil 270 because I have it. So before they get in the battle, they flash back to the Brooklyn Visions Academy in Brooklyn, where Miles goes to school, and Gang's there, of course, and basically Miles is having girl problems, and because then Gang's like, yeah, because of your big, dangerous secret. He's like, oh yeah, right. He's like, what? Miles is like, what should I have told her? Yeah, sorry I was late for the old date, but I was busy saving people from a guy who shoots electricity out of his face. And then they show a panel of him punching the Shocker.
The Shocker? Who's the Shocker?
Yeah.
He doesn't shoot electricity out of his face. He's got little static electricity gloves,
Yeah, I know, and that's he's in his old costumes. I don't know. I guess he was just exaggerating, but
yeah. As you say, shoot electricity out of his face. I'm thinking, Electro?
But, once again, then his parents call him, which is kind of weird, because in the Ultimate Universe, his mother was killed, but I guess she's alive and well again.
Yeah, dead no more.
Yeah, and I'm guessing she's not in on a secret, but his father was in on the secret, so he must still be, because she's yelling at him about his grades slipping, and his dad's like, oh, he'll take care of it.
Yeah, grades slipping. Yeah, it's just great power, great responsibility, but you do have a life to lead, kid,
Mm-hmm.
Don't want to be flipping burgers like that poor Peter Parker kid. Had so much potential, never achieved it. Well, except for 8 months. Only achieved it once Otto Octavius went and put his life into order. You're not going to have an Otto Octavius to clean up your messes, young Miles. So you better get to that studying. That's all I got to say. Not everyone is lucky enough to have an Otto Octavius take over their life and fix all their problems.
But so then he's in school, and the teacher's yelling at him about, why didn't he read To Kill a Mockingbird? And there's a panel of him webbing up the kangaroo. So then he sees fire trucks and ambulances.
You know what's been funnier there, though? If he'd actually been saving Mockingbird. Rather than because I was saving a Mockingbird. But that would have been funny.
Yeah, but so then he sees a bunch of fire trucks and ambulances go by, and he's like, I have to go to the bathroom, and the teacher's like, no, sit down, and she's like, bathrooms are for participants, sit down, and he's basically like, no, and he walks out.
Bathrooms for participants. Coffee is for closers.
And the teacher's like, what's gotten into him? And Gang's like, when you have to go, and the man has to go.
Oh, Gang.
So Miles, suits up, and he's following all the emergency vehicles, and it's the Avengers battling Blackheart, and once again he basically takes out the Avengers, and Miles is like, what am I gonna do? And when he looks in the rubble, and what does he see? Captain America's shield. He's basically like, oh my god, do I dare? Guess I do dare. He's like, I hope someone's filming this, and he just basically he starts beating Blackheart with the shield, but then he gives him one of his Venom blasts, which I guess he's like, because Blackheart's, what did you do? And he's like, it's a Venom blast, trademark me. He's like, but it seems to really be doing a number on your rather demonic central nervous system, which is just good luck for me because. And Blackheart's like, I will return and I will destroy you, as he like blinks out in a flash, and basically, Miles is like thinking to himself, you don't have to, Mr. Satan, sir. And then we hear a voice say, what did you do? And he's like, uh-oh. And the last page is the Peter Parker Spider-Man standing there saying, what did you do?
Oh, my.
So, I don't know if he thinks Miles caused all this, or I don't know why. It seems like he's yelling at him, so.
Yeah. Peter Parker, he's a jerk.
But, I mean, it was a good start. This book and Daredevil, I wish they'd explain, exactly how Secret Wars affected all this stuff, like Miles' mom being alive. And
well, we know why Miles' mom is alive.
Why?
Because he brought Molecule Man a hamburger. Because he was It's something nice for Molecule Man. And everyone else, Reed Richards, Dr. Doom, they were all kind of jerks to Molecule Man. But and again, where he had that burger hidden, I don't know, and I don't want to know, quite frankly.
So what, you think Molecule Man was just like, he was nice to me, and he kind of, gave him his mom back, and he transported Gank and his parents to the 616 with him?
Well, that's exactly what happened. It was like, he said, I owe you one. So, what he did? He, rather than slaying your enemies and all your wishes will be yours, you did something nice for somebody. And now all your wishes will be yours. You get to be Spider-Man. You get to have your family back. You get to have all your friends from your destroyed universe right back here with you. And nobody is any of the wiser. And yeah, that's what happened. I mean, that's exactly what happened. And, and I think maybe Pete got a little bit of the residue from that, just in the fact that, well, if we're going to do that, then we need to have Pete be doing something else. And, well, I don't want to kill Pete, so I'll make him a billionaire industrialist so that, Miles can be the Spider-Man of New York City. And, we'll work it out. We'll work it out, And also why Pete, even though being a billionaire now, is just really bad at it. Just like insanely bad at being a billionaire industrialist. Because he wants to go punch bad guys. It's like, no, you got bigger things to do, Peter. You got a company to run. Tony Stark wasn't going down chasing muggers. That's all I'm saying, Pete.
All right. And my last book on my own is Uncanny Avengers 5. You don't mind if I spoil this, do you?
Go right ahead. Yeah. I was so mad that because I looked for it on the rack. Is it under you? What was it under? No, I looked under A too. I looked everywhere.
Maybe they sold out.
Maybe, but it's supposed to be on my pull list because it said, "Pull me all the Avengers." I don't know, but anyway, so it wasn't on my list, so it wasn't there. But maybe I'll get it next week. We'll see. But anyway, spoil away because I saw some clips of it. So there's some things I wanted to actually ask you about. Okay.
Well, it opens up on the cruise ship, the Queen Kathleen, as Deadpool puts it. It's like the love boat for scum. He's like, whatever you do, don't go down the steerage. And Rogue's like, I don't want to know how you know all this, because Deadpool, Rogue, the Human Torch, and Cable all, I guess they're looking for the Red Skull, so they break into here, and then we see the Grey Gargoyle's there, and he's like,
the Grey Gargoyle, again, they keep on putting this guy in every nightclub. Using Chris, and he's here. And Grey Gargoyle.
He's basically like, I have no love for the Red Skull, but he's like, it's not good for business to be seen helping you guys. And, Johnny Storm's like, well, you don't want our conversation to heat up. You don't want our little chat to heat up, do you? And but they come looking for Honest John. They say the Red Skull stooge, and he is former associate of Herr Schmidt. He's like, and I cannot help you. And the Torch is like, okay, thanks. He's like, all right, thanks for cooperating. I had to try. And they're like, what? And he's like, oh, sorry. He's like, the Torch is like, sorry, when you said you don't know anything about the Red Skull, that concluded all Avengers business. He's like, but these unchaperoned X-Men still have some questions for you.
Unchaperoned X-Men. Oh, that's bad.
Yeah, then the next panel's like 30 seconds later, and Cable comes out and says, Honest John gave up a name, this Starnes Bank.
Which opens up a whole other bag of questions, I really want, now that we've got I'd love it if they do this in Daredevil. If they actually started talking about what the precedents are for vigilante law in the Marvel Universe. Because there has to be a ton of legal cases about this kind of stuff, City versus Flint Marco kind of stuff, where they etched out what the rules are, evidentiary rules are on the actions of vigilantes. Because I'm sorry, there's something for super connectivity, but
I was going to say. This time, though, they're on a cruise ship, so they could be in international waters. So who knows what the actual laws are?
International waters. I'm sure they carry international waters with them in the build of the ship. Just for purpose.
But so this bank there, I guess, supposedly the Skull has stuff is in Bagalia, and Deadpool says, yeah, it combines the scum of Madapore with the secrecy of Swiss banking.
I had Bagalia before, I believe.
So they're all gonna take off for there, but Cable says, this finishes my business here. Find the Skull's money and find the Skull. He's like, I have to get back to the future in my own affairs. And he activates his time machine, but then after a flash, he's still standing there. And Deadpool goes, should we pretend not to see Cable? So Cable asks his AI what happened, and I guess she said, Strife put a tachyon anchor on them that he thought, I guess, was going to strand them in 2087, but he didn't count on them time traveling to 2016, so right now he's stuck in 2016.
Wait, what now?
Well, remember, an issue or two back, he came from the year 2087?
Yeah.
I guess the AI is saying Strife did something to them, put some kind of tachyon anchor on them that was supposed to strand them there.
Yeah, but why didn't it then?
I don't know. I guess he thought they were. I don't know if he was going to travel further back, but it just didn't work until he hit 2016.
Okay.
But so he goes back to
go along with it. Okay.
Yeah, so I guess he goes back to Avengers headquarters to work on it. So Rogue, the Torch, and Deadpool go to check out this bank, and Deadpool's basically keeping watch on our nearby rooftop while Torch and Rogue go in. But they run into Gambit, who's trying to break into the vault.
Gambit.
And basically, of course, their security measures like robotic suits of armor they got to take out, and basically they get through all the defenses, and they rip open the vault, and they don't see anything in there. But so then Rogue asks Johnny to give them a minute, so Johnny leaves the room, and Rogue's telling Gambit, I'd say this whole trip was a huge waste of time, but that be a lie. She's trying to kiss him.
Mm-hmm.
And but he holds up a card between them, and he goes, I'm sorry. He's like, but you got that cloud cancer bad. Could be communicable between mutants, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, oh, my mistake. And he's like, I'll see you soon. And she's like, I doubt that. And he's like, so she's walking away, and he goes, Ugh, I've never had much luck with women. And we see the big reveal that it wasn't Gambit at all. It was the Red Skull using that big telepathic brain he got from the corpse of Charles Xavier.
Dun dun dun.
Because
so
not only did
in a box somewhere, or because it's always been a little weird here. Did he put the brain inside his own head, or?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he put the brain in his head, because not only did he make them see him as Gambit, but he made them see the vault as empty. Meanwhile, it's full of gold bars, and his daughter's in there.
Brains don't really work like that, though. I mean.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, I don't know if they took part of the brain.
Because at some point I figured, maybe they just like, he's got the brain in like, a big machine that he's manipulating the brain with, and that would make sense. And this was like a 6-day-old brain. It's not like it was in pristine condition when he got it,
Yeah, I know. And then meanwhile, his daughter's looking normal. Cause I'm like, didn't she get her face like burned off or something?
That was 8 months ago. So.
Yeah, because I mean, she's looking all pretty and normal. She has hair and everything.
Maybe she's got one of those Del Rusk masks. I don't know, but actually, one thing I liked in the little clip is it seems like they've really patched up their relationship and really have had a lot of good father-daughter time. So it's nice to see that just because you're a sociopathic, megalomaniacal, evil being of I don't even think it's fair to call him a racist anymore because I think he's something even beyond being a racist. He's just
he hates everyone equally.
I hate all things. So he's just but it's nice to see that him and his daughter have sort of reconnected and have found happiness together in that little father-daughter criminal empire thing. So good for the Skull and Sin.
But wait, the issue ends with like her Sin asking him, she's like, well, what are we gonna do about all these Avengers and X-Men looking for you? And he's just like, when the time is right, every man, woman, and child that has ever been an Avenger will perish at my hands, and in their last moments I'll use Xavier's brain to make Steve Rogers telepathically feel every death. When Rogers can bear no more, he will beg me to end his miserable life, but I will not. I'll lock his mind away to replay the last moments of every Avenger, and I will live to watch the madness take him.
Yeah, that's not going to work out well for him.
He has issues with Steve, yeah.
A little bit. Yeah, so obviously this is sort of playing into his big plan for, Old Man Logan and Acts of Vengeance 2, Electric Boogaloo, after Civil War 2, The Wrath of something. I don't know. The Wrath of Mom.
But big thumbs up on that. But those are my.
It sounds
books.
great. I'm really mad. I missed it. But what are you gonna do?
So now the books on our we both read.
I got one more. I got A-Force.
Oh, that's right.
A-Force. So I really loved this. There's this weird, they've got this great little thing at this front of it, and it's like both beautiful and kind of silly looking, which is that they've got all of the A-Force members, which are, Medusa, She-Hulk, Singularity, Captain Marvel, Nico Minoru, and Dazzler. But their faces are all in like little stars, and they've got these like these little lights behind them. But it looks like that now rainbow from NBC. But it's very cute. Anyway, so when last we left our heroes, our heroines, basically, Medusa had slapped cuffs on Singularity, saying, let's give her to Antimatter because Antimatter is causing trouble and we want to get things out of here. And this is actually kind of a neat thing that I kind of feel about this. This is like really one of my favorite books this week is A-Force. And you have this interplay between Medusa and She-Hulk, which actually relates to their interplay in the old A-Force comic a few weeks ago from the Secret Wars tie-in, where Medusa disagrees with the way that She-Hulk, as the Baron of Arcadia, was running things. And to me, what this is She-Hulk is an advocate. Medusa is a queen. An advocate has the person they defend, and they defend that person against all things, regardless of what the consequences for the greater world are. A queen cares about the totality of humanity, even at the expense of an innocent. And here they have themselves having this conflict, and it might have come to blows, except that Antimatter casually, essentially eviscerates one of Medusa's guardsmen. Basically, oh, this is interesting. Let's take it apart, see what it does. And it's like, that was insanely cruel. So they fight Antimatter for a few minutes. Antimatter isn't really being hurt, but they use a teleportation disc that they're working working the kinks out of it. It's in human technology. The only problem is they have no idea where it teleports things to. And it basically teleports them somewhere near the moon. And he's like, I've already seen this Earth's moon. Why am I back here? And they say they need to figure out something that is that can deal with this, that is the opposite of punching. And Singularity says, yes, the opposite of punching. I know who. And takes them to Nico Minoru. Nico Minoru, of course, was Singularity's sister, quote unquote, in Arcadia. And Singularity's all like, sister, and she's like, excuse me? And Medusa and She-Hulk are like, this kid's supposed to help. And it's like, well, you have witch powers, right? And it's like, yeah. And honestly, in its own way, I'm kind of feel bad for Antimatter because he is so childlike, just in a similar way that Singularity is. And it's like he's just like smashing things, but it's not like, but he doesn't really understand that what he's doing is bad. To me, I think kind of, although he also doesn't seem to care that what he's doing is bad. He doesn't seem to have an interest in learning. He just wants to destroy. And basically what happens is Nico unmakes him. They make this really great thing where, Nico she has this immense magical power, but she can only use each spell once. And what she learned is that she's sort of basically running through languages for different words to heal. And she says, I use heal a lot. So she says, paranime, and says that's Estonian for heal. So I can only use each spell once, but I need heal a lot, so I'm working on my way through the languages. And it says, you are very smart. What happens when you run? What happens when run out? An excellent question. Basically, She-Hulk and Medusa are sort of trying to figure out what to do. Carol Danvers calls on incidentally, Nico was at her cousin's wedding. It's like her normal relatives, the ones who aren't supervillains, finally invited her to be a part of the family. And of course, Antimatter, Singularity, Medusa, and She-Hulk show up and start wrecking the place. Perfect. Basically, Carol says we need to get more data. We need to bombard this antimatter thing with as much electromagnetic spectrum as we can so that we can sort of get a sense of what it's made of. And Singularity says, I know who. And who do they get to bombard it with electromagnetic, the entire electromagnetic spectrum?
The Spectrum?
No! Well, that would actually been that would have been practical too. Actually, they go with Dazzler, who is currently working as Alice Dunn Blair, jammer for the Elm Street Nightmares roller derby team in Florida. And basically, Singularity says, friend Allison, and Allison Blair slugs her because she popped up in the middle of the roller derby match, It's actually kind of cool seeing Allison Blair in the roller derby match. And this is, for me, the greatest bit here. Basically, Antimatter shows up, about to destroy everything, and looks at Allison Blair and says, you are new, you are sparkly. And Allison Blair says, hell yeah, I am, and bombards him. And that was just awesome. I'm sorry. Huge thumbs up. And you know what? I'm going to say it. A-Force is my pick of the week. I really loved this book. It made me feel so happy for comic books. I mean, it was just such exciting. Here's what I'll say is like if there's one thing that is a downer of this book is I have no idea how this team is going to stay together after they solve this problem. It's like, we're all working together to protect Singularity. And then, in about 3 issues, we're going to solve that problem. And then, okay, been nice. See you around. It's not like I don't see them becoming Avengers because all these guys have their own like storylines to do. So, I don't know. I guess it's possible, but I'm a little suspect of what A-Force is going to do after the getting the band together issue. But really, I loved it. That's my pick of the week. I'm going to say it.
Very good.
Okay. And that's saying a lot because the next three are all really good books.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Do you want to jump to Doctor Strange?
Sure. Let's go to Doctor Strange. A great bit here. So a few years ago, we opened up Doctor Strange. He's coming home. He's bleeding from his eyes. He says, "Why is everything so dark?" He had to use Atlantean black magic to vanquish something or other. And he's like, "Just take me to the cellar. Take me to the cellar and we can fix this." And, Wong is like, "You can't keep on going to the cellar. That's not good." Says, "Just get me to the cellar." And then he collapses and he says, "Steven, I'm sorry, Steven, but I can't keep letting you." And then he goes and then he wakes up. And what we find out is that basically Wong has been training a group of monks to basically take all the pain, to basically be the sacrifices for Stephen Strange as he battles the forces of darkness, which is kind of cool, but also kind of weird. And one of the things that really strikes me here, does he say it here or? I think he says it later. But basically, so we get to the thing where basically the Empirical are here. They're destroying everything. We get a great bit of Monaco and Chandu in the bar with no doors. The Empirical bust in, and Chandu says, "Get behind me, Monaco. This thing's loaded with hellfire buckshot." He says, "What am I, some hippie draft dodger? The Prince of Magic don't run and hide. Free drinks for life after this, Monaco." Honestly, don't kill Monaco, man. Do not kill Monaco. Monaco comes back. Monaco can take this, and he'll drown a couple dozen more rabbits to get through this. But he is not taking this. And what I want to get to is there's this great thing where when the eyes are bleeding, of all the guys, because of course, Strange has to use the Atlantean black magic again. I'm not quite sure what he said, but there comes this point where Wong says, "I wonder what was in the cellar," which is this great bit where I'm wondering, what was it that Wong didn't even know what he was doing in the cellar, but he decided to take it upon himself to use this system of sacrificing these people, and it makes me wonder if Strange had something else deeper and stronger in the cellar. There is this great little legend about the bishop of, I believe it was the Bishop of Cologne, who basically rose from very simple, humble beginnings during the feudal age, and people were very distrustful of him because he was just the son of a cartwright, and how did he rise to become a cardinal? And he used to have a room in his what's the word I'm looking for, cathedral, that he would go into for hours on end, and when he would come out, he'd be completely refreshed, and people would say, people were like, "What is in there? What is he doing? Is he practicing black magic?" And what the legend says is when people actually went into the room to see what it was a cart that he would basically take apart and put back together. Again, remembering he was the son of a cartwright. He was the son of a guy who fixed wagons. And above the cart was written, "Remember from whence you came." So to me, I'm wondering if for Stephen in his cellar is a room with just Grey's Anatomy, and he just studies human physiology to remember from whence he came, to remember the world from which he goes. But we didn't get that here, but that's my prediction for the next issue. But basically, you think he vanquishes the Empirical, but no. The big green glowy ball is there, and burn this unholy temple, purge all the sinners you find, but leave the Sorcerer Supreme for me. It says, "My name is Stephen Strange. I'm the Sorcerer Supreme. I use magic to protect the world, but I never imagined it was magic itself that would one day need my protection. Never imagined until it was far too late." Here's one thing I'm going to say here. The last issue had him as sort of like, oh, I'm underwater and magic doesn't work and I'm drowning. Oh, no. And then we sort of kind of gloss over that as we get to this whole issue. And now, again, it's like until it was far too late. So I'm wondering if, like, next issue there's going to be like, oh, and now it's not quite as late as we thought it was last issue. But
No.
all in all, a great book for me. Thumbs up. Any book with, the worst book with Monaco Prince of Magic is still better than half the books out there. I'll say this right now. Why is Monaco not in Peggy Carter? Why is he not there? Marvel, you're laying down on the job.
But yeah, big thumbs up.
Big thumbs up. Okay. What's the next one you want to do?
You want to do Sam Wilson, Captain America?
Let's do Sam Wilson. And this is... For me, this was a book that I was up and down on all throughout it. I really loved the book. I really enjoyed it. But there are times in this book where you're just not quite sure what kind of story they're telling. Do you want to do the review of this, or?
No, you go ahead. I had a lot
Okay,
of...
no problem. So we opened it up. You got Sam and Joaquin. Interesting side note, I realized today that, Joaquin is an illegal immigrant. So is Blind Spot. And I just thought that was kind of interesting. We got two major illegal immigrant superheroes now in the Marvel Universe. Well, not illegal, undocumented immigrants, because you don't want to say illegal, because that's not a polite word. Because you should never imply that a human being is illegal by their existence. They are undocumented. Maybe breaking the law, but it's an interesting question of semantics and legality and what is basic politeness. And we cross over between bits on sort of the faux news, CNBC, Money Network, discussing the profit and loss statements of Serpent Solutions, even as the battle rages on. We have a very neat thing of basically Sam sort of linking through Red Wing to Joaquin to sort of imbue him with his knowledge of how to fight when you're flying. And basically we see Joaquin seemingly maybe get his head bit off, or at least something horrible happened to him. And everyone says, that's pretty awful, but says, no, that is something you never want to see. Folks, the loss of innocent life is something that can never be justified or taken lightly. And what we've seen is horrifying, it's disconcerting, it's tragic, but there's no question that the outcome of this fight is going to have a major impact on the stocks of the companies in business with Serpent Solutions. So based on what just happened, I'm putting all my eggs in this basket, going my full vote of confidence. Bye, bye, bye. And again, this is where we get into this thing where it's like, at times I feel like this book is almost in parody of things, and I'm not quite sure how they're doing. But basically, as we find out that, what the serpents forgot after Copperhead bit his head was that Joaquin has a healing factor and basically pops back up, beats everybody. Misty Knights showed up, and then Demolition Duffy comes in a big, a big G.I. Joe toy, guns blazing, blasting everybody, and wackiness ensues there. They fight. They go and they catch the big Council of Nine sort of group here, where basically, the old guy says, sure, you can arrest us. And this is one of these things I really want to have someone really discuss what the legality of vigilantism is in the Marvel Universe. Because here's this thing. So Captain America, he is an independent person. He is not a police officer. Ergo, he does have certain rights that police don't. The police cannot engage in a reasonable search, but an independent citizen theoretically can. But if you can argue that this independent citizen was actively working on behalf of the police, then they are bound by the same rules as the police. So if I'm a person that is working with the police, so like, I can't really break into somebody's house and, steal the incriminating evidence. If it's said that I'm working with the police, but if I am just an independent person, I come across this information and I give it to the police, it is not unreasonable search and seizure. It's a very gray area in our modern world, and I would really love to see a dissection of the legal precedents in the Marvel Universe about this kind of stuff. So anyway, and of course, here we got the Whisperer again, another vigilante. Really want to know who that is. Looking at that picture, it does look male. I'm wondering if that's Nick Fury from Up on the Moon. I don't know. Anything's possible, man. That would be a guy with the access. Nick Fury, he could be the Whisperer, no problem. But the guy basically says, sure, you can arrest us, but think about what's going to happen. He says, do big to fail. It's, it's a thing. The problem is he's probably right. I mean, don't get me wrong. Pretty much nobody likes these guys, not even the people who vote in ways to help them. I'm sure if I brought them down, I'd look like I was taking a stand against greed and corruption. Might even be enough to get the public back on my side. But what about after that? When the layoffs hit, when the savings vanish, when the whole damn economy collapses, people would lose their homes, their jobs, their health care. And that's not something even Captain America can stop. And it's sort of cutting the baby in half thing. His Solomonic decision here is he's going to arrest one of the evil guys and says, you other rich evil guys, you buy up all of his stuff to make sure nothing closes down. He's going to go to jail for all you guys, and that's going to be it. Which is, and he's like, that is so not a solution, and everyone's writing him. But of course, this is sort of the interesting aspect of this, which is that nobody's interested in what Cap just did. They're interested in the fact that Cap got a lap dance, which is Cap seen with a stripper. He's in love with a stripper. Not really, but yes. Sam's got a lot of ladies out there, Misty Knight, who is actually with somebody, but Lady Thor too. So he's doing the whole thing. And we winded up with Red Wing. Basically, he calls Red Wing to him, but no, Red Wing is now with the new Falcon, actively saying he's his sidekick, which is okay, but yeah, so I'm going to give it a thumbs up. I mean, I want to give it maybe like a 3/4 up. It's a soft thumbs up because I really felt they kind of tonally they jump around a lot, and it's one of these things. And Howard the Duck, because I know it's a parody book, because I know, and I really think that they handle that satire really well. In a Captain America book, I'm not quite sure if they're handling the satire as well, or if I just wonder if maybe the satire, I don't know where they're going with it. I really love it, though. And it's one of these things where, on one hand, I love it, and on another hand, I'm like, what are they doing? And I just don't know where to put myself. I want to say thumbs up, but I also want to say, what is going on here? What did you think, though? What did you think of that issue?
I liked it. It's a thumbs up for me. Do you think they're trying to inject more humor in the Sam's book, just so when Steve does come back, it's kind of like the difference between them? Sam's more lighthearted and Steve's the serious, older guy. The cop.
Yeah, I don't know. And again, but if that's the case, I think that's like not a good thing for them to do. I kind of feel like that's like, okay, I don't feel it as that's a good, I'm really soft on the return of Steve Rogers anyway. Here's the thing, that's the thing. It's like, and that's the thing. If you want to have Steve Rogers come back, fine, have Steve Rogers come back, but have Steve Rogers in another capacity. Don't make him Captain America. Because we have a Captain America. And, honestly, I would have loved to have seen a Steve Rogers book with old Captain America And maybe, give him some kind of it's given me old man strength. I'm not quite where I was, but I'm still freaking here. I'm now old man Rogers, and I'm ready to, fight side by side with old man Logan. And hey, no offense, that's really the worst part of this is we're never going to get an old man Rogers and an old man Logan team up. Unless someone writes a Lost Tale book from the 6 months when they're both old guys in the same universe. Yeah. So, I'm just, I just don't feel like it was really what we needed. And I don't know. I'm not sold on the whole concept. And
it's just like back in the day, we wouldn't have 2 Captain America books. We'd have, the Sam Wilson Captain America book, and then we'd have a backup story in each issue featuring old man Steve Rogers.
Yeah, and that's fine. See, I liked old man Steve Rogers. I actually really liked what they were doing with the character. I liked ways that they were dissecting him and playing with him and dealing with the fact that he had lost his powers and all this kind of stuff. And I really liked a lot of this stuff they did. And putting him back, super soldiering him up, flipping the script on it, it just seems like first off, it's all such a Deus Ex Machina. It is so much like, oh, good thing this cosmic cube was just laying around here, Oh, is that a cosmic cube? Well, here you go. Have some powers, Stevie. There you go. All fixed.
Oh, is that how they're doing it?
Something like that. I don't know. This whole thing starts with the cosmic cube fragments. The standoff logo, has possibly Valeria Von Doom, someone else, holding a freaking cube with people's heads screaming inside of it. So, whatever it is, they say because of the events, but I don't know what the events could be except maybe magic, cosmic cube. There we go. Pixie dust. All it takes is faith and trust and a little bit of pixie dust. And Steve Rogers back where he was. And like I said, it just feels unearned to me. And, I think that's really the thing of it. It's unearned. It's like this. If Otto comes back in the Dead No More story on Free Comic Book Day, that's earned. That's something where they've laid some groundwork for it. They've established it. Actually, someone had thrown out that, who could be coming back is Kane. And again, there has been some groundwork laid. Because it was you saw sort of twitching after Kane's death that maybe there is, maybe Kane's going to come back in the Spider-Verse storyline. But, just have Steve Rogers reborn. It's like, it didn't feel earned. It didn't feel like we had enough to establish that, Even if they want to start saying, well, the reason why he's been drawn so muscular is because the super soldier serum was slowly rebuilding itself in his system. And again, that's fine. And to that extent, I'd be kind of okay with it if he was all buff but still old. I would be okay with buff old Steve Rogers, where he's a little, still peak, but kind of just slightly, but still had that age to him. I'd be kind of cool with that, sort of like Earth 1 and Superman, if you remember that, where they had the gray streaks in Superman's hair, and he kind of had, had the old, just still really buff, but just had that slight old man paunch, And that I'd be cool with that. It's okay, yeah, I get that. I can feel that. But nope, here's Cap, 20 years old again. It's it's unearned. It's unearned, And not for nothing, it pins the tail on the unearnedness of the Steve Rogers character in general. The idea of just, giving him the serum, it just
why they're de-aging him, right?
Well, of course I know why. I'm aware that there's a movie. There seems to be a little movie that they're doing. I don't know. I heard,
Yeah, but that's the thing. They always have to follow the movie. Even over on DC, even on the DC side, Bruce Wayne hasn't been Batman because he's had amnesia, and Superman's been depowered. But guess what? Both of them have issue 50 coming up. Around the time of Batman v Superman, so guess who's coming back there?
Yeah. So we're not going to have the Kryptonite punch anymore by issue 50. You're thinking?
Oh, did someone read Superman?
I read everything. Even if I don't read the books, I read the trade. I know what's going on everywhere, man. I make it a point to be really knowledgeable on anything so I can talk it.
Oh, wait till you hear the new World's Finest. Me and Lilith just recorded a couple hours ago. We
not paying the Kryptonite punch.
Well, the announcement we made about Casual Friday Superman, I'll make you wait for that.
Oh, I can't wait to listen to it. I tell you what, man, any podcast where I hear Lilith's voice, I'm like, even if it's not when I normally listen, I'm like, okay, let's listen to what Lilith has to say,
Why?
Well, she is my arch nemesis, but like Lex Luthor, it's I hate her, but there's this part of me that I hate that I just love to listen to her. It's like, oh, where would I be without Hellfire? She is the Superman to my Lex Luthor. Though perhaps not without quite so much erotomatic fixation. Sorry, that's my headcanon with Lex Luthor. He's totally got an erotomatic fixation on Superman.
Oh, jeez. All right. Anyway,
okay. Enough of that.
The last issue we have.
You can say that in a family podcast because it's in Latin, so no one knows what I just said.
Just speaking those dead languages, children.
There you go. That's why you got to be educated, kids. So you get the inside jokes.
All right, let's get to our last issue. My pick of the week: Invincible Iron Man #6.
This one was so close to being the pick of the week. In fact, up until I actually did the spoken review of A-Force, this was my pick of the week. But I just felt so in love with the way A-Force played out. I just really loved it. But this is just great. Why don't you tell us what happened in it, Phil?
Well, it opens up with James Rhodes, War Machine, checking out the Stark Tower in Osaka, Japan, trying to figure out what Madame Mask was up to. You know, Whitney Frost. You might have seen her on TV.
Oh, yeah. Not quite the same Whitney Frost, though. Although, I just love the fact that we have no idea what she stole. No idea. Really, you have no idea? No idea. So you don't know what was in here that she stole? No. It's like, no, really, if I did, I would tell you.
But I just love the part where, Friday's in the War Machine armor too, and Rhodey's just asking her, he's with someone, right? And she's like, of course. He's like, everyone hates you, Tony Stark.
Yeah, I just love the fact that, that like Friday's in the War Machine armor now, and like Tony says, yeah, you can. He says, can I keep Friday? He says, yeah, of course. She's an AI. She's smarter than both of us. She can do that. She can hang out with you and me, which is actually kind of this weird thing. Is like, why are we still building super intelligent AIs? Does this ever work out well?
Yeah, I know. That's going to be a future storyline, Friday becomes the new Skynet.
Yeah, well, not for nothing. It's like, why do you always got to make them smarter than everybody? Here's what I'll say. Like, the one reason why I think, I think the original Human Torch has never gone evil is just because he's not he's never presented as I'm the smartest being in the room, I'm the super robot mental being. It's like, no, I'm just Jim Hammond. I light up into fire.
Oh yeah, he was built with World War II technology. He's not gonna...
Yeah, pretty impressive for World War II.
Oh yeah,
I'm gonna say that though. It's really, as AI goes, it's like that's actually pretty much the best AI ever built was him. But because they worked out his emotional matrix, and although actually, if you read the most of the modern understandings of it is that actually what it is Phineas just didn't really build Jim Hammond. He just built a human body with synthetic cells, and that the synthetic cells just sort of came to life. And that's essentially what you break it down to, is that, the synthetic cells came to life, and that's what Jim Hammond is. Rather than being an actively programmed AI, he built a brain, and the brain became aware. And the brain learned to be human, rather than someone trying to build an AI, which just... And really, if you think about it from the ground up, that makes a lot more sense. Let's just make a brain and see what it does, rather than let's try and make the world's smartest robot, because that will certainly work. Anyway, that was a little off topic there. And we've been running real long here, and people are like on their third day of listening to this by now. Because you only get that half-hour commute, and we're almost to 3 hour, almost to an hour and a half. So I love the scene with Doctor Doom again.
At breakfast, yeah.
Yeah, we go to a little hole in the wall down, but they do admit the waffles are great. But really, when was the last time you had a really bad waffle? I mean, honestly,
Yeah, exactly.
It's like pumpkin pie. The best pumpkin pie you're ever going to have probably isn't that much better than the worst pumpkin pie you ever had. It's not that the worst pumpkin pie is that bad. It's just that the best pumpkin pie isn't that great. It's, it's a waffle. You can have great waffles, but, at the end of the day, they're waffles. But, so Dr. Doom has a proper doctor is doing his follow-up. And, I'll tell you, what this reminded me of? This scene, you know what the scene reminded me of? We did a thing recently, you, me, and Lilith, when we watched the film Constantine together and discussed it. And there's that great scene where Gabrielle is saying, the only reason you're doing good is to make up for your sins, and it doesn't work that way, And that's what really struck me about Dr. Doom here. He's trying to do good, not because doing good is the right thing to do, but because he wants to make up for what he's done. He wants to get to that point where, okay, now Hawkeye has to deal with the fact you used to be a bad guy, right? And Hawkeye was like a bad guy for like a week. It's like, like 4 issues of Iron Man, he was the bad guy. Then he like came over and joined the Avengers. It's like Dr. Doom has been a bad guy much longer. You don't just make it up.
And like cosmic bad guy, like stealing Silver Surfer's power and stuff like that.
Yeah, really just the worst. So anyway, back to Rhodey. He's in Japan. He's trying to track down the cyber ninjas. He's told that big guy over there knows about them, and he goes kidnaps the big guy. And as it turns out, who were the cyber ninjas? Phil.
The 2 women he was with. I love that scene at the end because they're like, oh, you didn't see us as a threat. Shame on you. And he, he's basically, read between the lines. He's like, no, I'm not sexist. I was just giving bad info.
And I feel really bad about that now. But then they go schnickety schnick. We don't know what happens, but we're going to assume his head did not get just severed. But next issue, new hire Mary Jane. This was a great book. The Doctor Doom scenes alone, and honestly, I just will say the Doctor Doom scenes are what really sells this book for me. It's just Doctor Doom. I'm a good guy now. I don't know if you watched the show Gallivant, but the villainous king from the first season, he's like the good guy in the second season. And for the first 6 episodes of it, he's like, I'm helping, and it's like, no, you're not. And that's sort of I kind of see Dr. Doom in this, even though Dr. Doom is like much more capable than King Richard is in that. He is just like, oh goodness, King, oh goodness, Baron von Victor, you are not helping at all.
And as if we didn't have enough books coming out, it looks like next month from the ad, International Iron Man #1 comes out in March, and that they said that there's a lot of Tony and Doom in that. So
you're killing me. See, I was going to say I'm going to skip that. It's like, oh, but it's Tony and Doom. And it's like, oh,
they know what's up.
You, Marvel. I only have so much money, Marvel. If I win the lottery tonight, I bought my Mega Millions ticket. So if I win tonight, then yes, okay, we're fine. I'll just keep on buying everything and reading as much as I can. And, and that's all. That's going to be my full-time job then, Marvel. I'm just going to read your comic books and talk about them on Southgate Media.
Or if Marvel wants to give us free copies of the books, we'll review them all. I don't care if we sit here 3 hours recording a podcast.
If I don't win the lottery, you can start giving us free comic books, and then we're all good.
You don't even have to give us paper, Marvel. Just give us free digital downloads.
There you go, man. That costs you nothing. I got my Kindle right here. That's what I'm podcasting on.
Exactly.
Okay. Anyway, so that was all, Phil.
Nah, well,
I
next
don't
week's
think
going
they're
to
going
be
to get
more of the
shorter,
same.
Phil. I think
No, not for a while.
it wouldn't
All
be
right.
so bad if I could just find a book where I could say, okay, I'm just not reading you anymore. And it's like, it takes a lot to pull that Band-Aid off, especially because there's so many new books.
Yeah, but
It's like I could drop Red Wolf, sure. I could, and I may have to do that because I might just say I just don't have the money. Honestly, Uncanny Avengers, I've loved them, but because I missed it this week, if I don't get it next week, if it doesn't come in, if it got sold out and it's not coming back in, I may not pick it up, and it might get lost in the rotation because you put too many books out there. I can't buy them all.
Yeah, but I think we're starting to see the cracks in the wall because they announced this week that Black Knight's last issue is only going 5 issues, and they're canceling that.
Yeah, and so I didn't even read that one.
Yeah, I was going to drop it anyway just to get other books, but I mean, I think we're going to start seeing that.
Stick it out, aren't you?
No, well, I didn't know they were going to. I decided to drop it before they canceled it, but it's just like. Yeah. I think we're going to be seeing some of these books like get canceled because the numbers on anything aren't that great. Well, the main stuff like Iron Man stuff's probably doing good, but some of those second tier books are probably none of them are probably doing that healthy because you're spreading your audience over how many books now.
Well, yeah, and I'm sure that maybe that's sort of the thing when I was talking about A-Force. It's like, how does this team stay together after they resolve this first arc? And maybe Marvel said, well, maybe they don't have to. Maybe we're going to resolve that first arc, and if there's not, if it sells but it's not huge, if it gets critical review, but our sales are soft, that's fine, and we'll put it out. We'll sell it in trade, and maybe we'll do another A-Force get together a couple of years down the road, and maybe Black Knight's still in the that's the thing about the Marvel Universe, they're all still there. Any of these characters, they can pull them back. We can throw Black Knight into a Defenders group. We can have him run around with what's her name in the new Captain Britain, Fazia. Because they actually had a thing for a while there where they were kind of almost thinking about dating for like a half a minute, and then stuff happened. Vampires invaded, and then Secret Wars or something, and then I was gonna
say I'll give Marvel the answer right now. Well, I know over on DC they have a Harley Quinn team up book now, but it only comes out every other month. It's like if you want to do 2 Iron Man books, make them both every other month. Iron Man comes out in February, then International Iron Man comes out in March, then Iron Man comes out in April. Make a couple of these books every other month.
Yeah, well, you see, but here's the thing: they don't have to do that with Iron Man. I mean, I'll show up every month for one of the Iron Mans, certainly, and maybe even both the Iron Mans if you do one at the front of the month and one at the back of the month. But like, if you're going to do A-Force, do A-Force every couple of months. One of these things that I think is kind of interesting is that one of the things we're getting with Deadpool 2099, which I thought was a great little book, but that's going to be like every 3 months now because they're going to do a Deadpool arc, and then in between they're going to do Deadpool 29. Every time you finish an arc on Deadpool, they're going to pull out Deadpool 2099. So that to me is like, oh, well, that works. That's kind of interesting. I can go along with that. But Marvel just wants that money. Where's the cash register sound effect, Phil?
You and Lilith both ask for that every time.
Because it just... There we go. That's what Marvel wants. That's what it is, man. There we go.
All right, let's get out of here. Everyone, if you enjoyed this supersized episode of All New Marvel Roundup, let us know. Email us, marvelroundup@gmail.com. On Facebook, we're All New Marvel Roundup. And on Twitter, we're @Marvel_Roundup. And of course, you can talk anything Marvel and DC with me, nightwingpdp@gmail.com. On Twitter, I am @nightwingpdp. And I've started writing a new article for TV Binges where I review the superhero TV of the week. Check that out. I might have more news on maybe a website coming up soon. So just follow me on social media and I'll let you know. But Charlie, what do you have going on?
You can always listen to me on the Gamma Cast and the All New 80s Reboot and on Super Connectivity, which I love because that's where I just, talk randomly on stuff. And, of course, if you want to hop along with me on tweeting Agent Carter or other programs that strike my fancy, you can do so at Charlie Esser. That's CharlieEsser. Look for the 2 E's in the middle for quality. And write to me, as always, at superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog@gmail.com.
Is that it?
That's all I got. That's all there is. There ain't no more. Quit you knocking at my door.
Yep, a lot of books this week, a lot of books next week. The barrage continues. But remember, don't worry. Pretty soon we're going to have 2 Captain Americas to shield us. Good night.
Good night.